What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of What's the Dealio? I'm Siano, Sabre, Scale Franchise Solutions, SBX. And before I pass the mic to my man Mike, we have somebody really special on the show today. Haven't seen you in many years. Can't wait to catch up. Mike, what's up?
We got the Handsome Homebuyer with us. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having us. Great to see you guys. Great to see you. It's been too long.
It's been too long.
But you don't age.
No.
Nothing changes. The beard grows a little, but everything else stays the same.
What else did we establish?
The leggings.
Women's leggings. Other than that, I am the exact same human that you and I sat down at. We got to flash back to that podcast. And I got to watch your guys.
What
podcast.
year was that with you guys?
That was a while ago, dude.
It's a long time ago. It's probably like 4 years ago.
It's got to be at least.
That'd be 4 years ago.
It got to be 4 years ago. So, for everybody that's listening, how did you get your start?
So I owned a Mako body shop franchise in Hempstead when I was 24 to the time I was about 34, 35. And someone gave me the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And they were like, you should read this. I read it. I was like, bam, that's it. Here's my life. I found my calling. Because I liked the body shop business, but I didn't love it. And so I'm like, all right, how am I going to be a professional investor? What does that mean to me? Is that stocks? Is that real estate? What is that? So I studied some of the greats in stocks. I realized stock market's not for me. People make a lot of money in it, but it just doesn't suit my personality. Real estate. So what do? I go to NYU and I take a one-day class on foreclosures because this is right after the crash. And myself, like most other people, think bank-owned properties. That's how you make money. They're just giving them away. That's how you make the money. So when I was there, obviously that's not true. Most bank-owned properties are very overpriced. But when I was there, they said, go join one of the local RIAs. So for all of you who don't know what that is, it's Real Estate Investment Association. So it's like a meetup of some kind where they have it once a month and there's investors there and they do trainings. So I joined the East Coast RIA. I met my mentor, Carl Chavone, and I trained with him for 3 years, 7 days a week while I was running the Mako before I felt like I was ready to do my first deal, right? Then it took me a year to find my first deal. Once I finally found my first deal, it was proof of concept. I was like, I'm going to buy for X, renovate for Y, sell for Z, and it literally hit exactly on those numbers.
Now,
Wow.
when you are that precise on the first acquisition, is that a positive thing or a negative thing? Because do you have a false reality of it being that good, or do you think based on all the training and all the patience that you were just smart about what you decided to pursue for your first deal?
Yeah, like if I had done a like a 3-day boot camp, went out and did it and didn't have all that training, it would have been like going to the blackjack table, hitting it the first time, and then obviously after that could be disaster. But the amount of preparation that went up to that moment, like I'm all about preparing to a certain point where you don't know everything, but you're not going to get hurt, and then taking the leap. And then from that point, I move very, very fast.
Yeah.
It's a great buyer right there. I would love to work. I love working with buyers like that just, take the leap of faith.
Yeah, but it's way more than, it's also why I'm not a great investor, because I lack the patience on the investment side. I'm the guy that goes to the blackjack table, just like throwing money around and complete moron.
It'd be fun, probably.
No, but like building businesses, I mean, like I'm in a marathon, business building mentality always. But on the investment side, like everything looks so good. I want to get in, that type of stuff. So it's interesting that based on the fact that that's your primary business, you have to be super disciplined, or you're not going to be able to make a great living and do the quantity that you do. How many homes have you done since then?
Over 400.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All on Long Island?
Yeah, all on Long Island. A couple in the boroughs, but mostly on Long Island. And now the new iteration of really like the last 6 months is really removing me from the process and scaling. So like I don't see houses anymore. It has now become a machine that I think we can scale to like 8 to 12 houses a week.
And you're doing how many a week now?
4.
So talk about, because you can't be a one-man show. You have a team behind you, obviously. How does that work? I mean, do you have to hire more people to scale? Do you have an infrastructure set up already where you can scale? How does that work in your business?
So just a little bit of backstory, right? So when I got into real estate, I didn't have any money. So I went out and basically networked 3 to 4 days a week. And then I started doing organic social media. Like you and I kind of you got into it a little bit earlier than I do, but I remember looking up to you and watching what you do and being like, this works. This makes sense. So I use those two things to build a massive referral base of realtors and other wholesalers. So I was doing 70, 80, 90, 100 deals a year just based off of referrals. So the good thing about that is it's constant and it doesn't cost you any money. The bad thing about that is it has to be you or the machine stops.
Yeah.
So finally at 44 years old or 43 years old, because I made this decision last year, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I don't own a business, I own a job. And I don't want to own a job. I want to have business. I want to own a business and then scale and build other businesses. So I went back and I've gotten a lot of mentorship over the years. I went back to NYU when I was 37, got a master's in commercial real estate development.
Wow.
And I started training with different mentors that really understood, processes and scaling. And one of the guys I trained with, he built an operation where they flipped 1,500 houses across 11 markets across the country a year. Like that's what they did. So I got a lot of training under him, and I started about 6 months ago building this system. And now it essentially is like this close to just completely running on its own, actually better without me there, which is the goal.
That's the goal, but it's super challenging, right? Because especially when you've hustled your way to where you are, you feel like that hustle is what got you where you are now, right? So for me, it's super challenging to I'll jump into Zooms and meetings with my team where they're like, why are you here? Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? This is what I need to be doing right now, right? They're like, no, we didn't invite you for a reason. Why are you here? I'm like, shit, I'm like my own worst enemy because I feel like I need to know everything that's going on. But you can't do that and scale.
100%. You are actually holding yourself and the company back. Like
Big
we
time.
are actually holding that. That's what we're doing. And it's so hard to, one of my mentors is like, in order for the CEO to be born, the hustler must die. Right. And that's the hardest part because you're so psychologically caught up in the grind every day that you're doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. So, recent lessons are I hired some amazing people that are, I'm not going to say they're expensive because they're investments, but in the past I was just filling like positions. I need a position, I'm going to fill it at a number that makes sense. Now it's like, I'm going to find the best person who's really freaking expensive because they're the best person. And while some people might think that that's an expense, I'm like, this is going to free me up and build my business,
It's an investment.
5, 6, 7, 10x, whatever.
Time is the biggest commodity, right?
That's the thing. But when you're really young, I don't know how you feel. Like when you're really young, you don't realize that. When you get into your 40s, you start to realize, not that we're old, but time, you start to understand that time has a lot of value to it.
I don't think I really, until I hit 40, ever thought about it. Now it's everything, I think collapsing time is my biggest goal in life at this point. And being able to, it's funny, I recently said, I want to be able to make a living.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I feel now. Right. So every day I get to really pick and choose what I'm going to do that day because Saber's at a place where I could literally step out of everything for a month and it would flow as if I was doing everything, all day, every day. So it's an interesting transition.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's the goal, right? Everybody always says your goal as a founder and a CEO is to fire yourself from every position.
So a couple things. I haven't seen you in a very long time, right? But not that you weren't happy before, but you're in a different place today. Mentally, I feel it from you. Yeah. You, again, not that you weren't happy then, but there's a certain level of happiness and calm that you have today that you did not have 4 years ago.
1,000,000%. Yeah. That is so true. It couldn't be more true. And there's so many reasons behind it. And a lot of it has to do with personal development. So I've gone really heavy into focusing on my own self-care, which has changed everything in my life. I quit drinking alcohol, big changes that I've made. You never drank.
Never.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because as you mature and as you focus on bettering yourself, it's fucking crazy what happens. And I never could have said that 4 years ago because I didn't know, I really started this journey deep, right around that time.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you say that. I appreciate that.
What sparked that?
Well, first off, I'll come on your podcast to talk as much as you want about that. I don't want to take away from you, but what sparked that? I think maturity, you know, like I just hit a certain, before that, right? Like to me, it was all, you know, success was tied to like the super JV things, money, you know, power, the car you drive, the watch you're wearing, like all the things that like a young, immature person that is driven to start their own business wants, right? And then all of a sudden, like at a certain stage of life, either that changes where you're like, you become like, for me, success, if you were to ask me that question, like, Jay, what's success? To me, it's being fulfilled, right? Literally being at peace with myself. And thank God that I made all those changes in my life, because I lost my mom 2 decades ago, right? So that was like a big trauma, and, you know, kind of like coping with that loss and drinking too much and going hard to kind of just numb myself, work 24/7, like all the things.
Yeah.
To you know, run away from that stuff. And then I changed my life. I changed so many things. And then I lost my dad 4 weeks ago, dude. His memorial service is tomorrow.
Oh my God.
So it's like, but based on the, like who I am now, like this version of me, it's a completely different experience for me, you know? So it's been a really profound 4 years, man. It's crazy that you noticed that.
Yeah, very
from a
like,
distance too.
Yeah, I can feel it. I really can.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Crazy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
What is
Back
success?
to you.
What is success to you?
What is success to me? I just like playing the game every day. Like when we was talking about, you know, cars and watches and all that stuff. I actually finally bought myself like a nice car, but you know, I don't have a lot of fancy stuff. I own 100+ rental properties, and I live in like a rented kind of converted office shack that kind of that is like the size of this. I don't
That's
really
cool, really.
Yeah, I don't really right in Farmingdale, right by the strip, and I pretty much bounce every year and go to a new place. I don't really need a lot. I freaking love my life, man. I wake up every day, hang out with cool people, do deals. There's a lot of action. Like nothing's tying me down. It's a great life. You get to do whatever we want, and there's no restrictions. There's like nothing but possibilities. It's awesome.
It's amazing. Just being happy is everything, right?
I think that, you know, like, again, back to what we were saying, I think, like, for me, I was oftentimes trying to fit a square peg into a round hole to make things something they weren't, you know? And as you get on in your years and have life and business experience, unfortunately, along the way, you're going to meet douchebags, you're going to get stolen from, you're going to, all the things, right? And if you don't have this, like, again, like if you're not centered, if you're not at peace with yourself, like I used to want to fucking kill people, bro. Like 100%, you know, like if somebody stole money from me, I would be like plotting their death. And then like, you know, thank God, I feel like I'm super zen. It must be the women's leggings. So I think now I'm like super zen. I like actually feel bad for like the people who are living that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, to tie it, actually, let's talk about social media, because when you're putting yourself out there, you get so much negative energy on social. How do you deal with that? Like, do you get a lot of that shit still? I mean, you and I are at it a long fucking time.
Yeah. Oh, tons. I have this new thing where it's funny. I was like, I'll put out content about real estate. I'll be like, these 3 things will make you financially free. 30-second clip. 3 people will watch it.
Yeah.
I've been doing these food reviews lately.
I love them.
Just to really help out small business. I just thought it would be fun.
I love it.
And you know what the coolest, that is literally probably the coolest shit I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because, very quick story about that. I'll give you an example. I walk into this Italian restaurant in Farmingdale. I go there every Friday. Love this place. It looks like it's out of business. Like it literally looks like the place is falling down.
Right on the end.
What's the name of it?
Yes.
What's it called? Plug it. You got to plug the business.
Verona?
Vienna?
Fuck. With a V, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
We'll insert it.
Yeah, bull drop.
Okay.
Anyway, so I go in there, my girlfriend and I, and there's like 2 people in there. And I'm like, it's freaking so great. Why is it, but nobody knows about this place? I'm like, I'm going to make a video. So I make a video, most underrated Italian restaurant on Long Island. This thing freaking blows up. It's got like 500,000 views. I don't think anything of it. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I go back 3 weeks later. The place is packed to the brim.
Get out of here.
Still, to this day, that was a year ago, that place is packed. Same people coming back over and over and over again. And the guy hugs me. He's like in tears. He's like, this has freaking changed my life. And I've done that with about a half a dozen random places. There was another one real quick I did. Gretzky Airport, Cafe Volo.
Okay.
It's this. I accidentally found the place. Little airport, and the thing that's cool about it is you watch the planes take off and land. So if you have kids and stuff, it's really cool to just watch the private jets take off. People fly in, they walk into the restaurant. You're like, guy walks out, takes off on his plane. It's kind of trippy. So they have like 4 or 5 seats in there, and I do a video. Video blows up, 300,000-400,000 views. My buddy goes back like a month later. The lady's crying. She's like, we were literally about to go out of business. We hired 4 new people. We're taking over the other side of the restaurant, and now the place is packed. So that kind of stuff, like one video can literally, as cliche as it sounds, can literally change your life, or more importantly, somebody else's life.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome.
That's
just
awesome.
the impact that like something like that has is insane, and worth all of the negative energy that comes along with the just being out there.
And that's what, like, to your point, just to wrap that up. So yeah, I see people just blast me in the comments. I just rolls right off. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Did it always, or is that now
Always.
you've developed a thicker skin? No, it always rolled off you.
So you know what it is? Not my entire life, right? When I was a teenager, obviously there's, you have a certain level of insecurity, but from a pretty young age, probably like really early 20s, I really stopped caring.
Yeah.
And then
Beautiful thing.
at that point, like, you are truly free. When you really genuinely don't care, like society has no hold on you and you genuinely don't care what people think about you, that is the moment where everything changes.
Totally agree.
And it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, I'm going to do whatever whenever I want. And I don't care what you think one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got confidence.
It's a great message.
So I don't even respond to it because I don't want to feed into it.
Sure.
Right?
Well, I mean, it's back to just life in general. Like, I really try to protect my energy. So now I'm very mindful of who I spend time with.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate to really, I think, get to a level of, when you do the things and you're like really fucking dialed the fuck in, like lunatic style, like the people that you attract are other lunatics that are operating at a fucking different level. Right. So, and not to sound bad, but I don't want to, like, I pretty much want to sharpen my axe, like, as much as possible. So I'm not about going out and like hanging out at a bar or a club, all the things that I did at nauseum for, many decades, better than most, quite frankly. But that's the thing. It's like now, like you have to be super mindful and protective of your energy. And if you're responding to it, it's like, it's a waste of your time and energy. Like, why are you even going to respond?
Yeah. I remember watching Eminem. He had this interview, I don't know, you guys may have saw, where he was talking about Machine Gun Kelly, and Machine Gun Kelly came at him and started just, he made a song or something, just totally shit talking him. And Eminem's like, I want to come back and like battle him and kill him, but like, I don't want to put him in the spotlight. So like, I just let it go. It's like kind of one of those things. It's like, dude, I'm not going to feed into your negativity online and
totally.
just, and give oxygen to the fire.
Totally.
I'm just going to.
By the way, like, that's also the real estate industry. It's interesting for me because, I started in real estate like literally right after I lost my mom. So I was already like just, not on very firm ground by any means dealing with that loss. And, a lot of real estate brokers are just haters in general, right? So like, because they don't have an abundance mindset. Like most people are like, wait a minute, if Mike's doing a deal, that means I'm going to do one less deal.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem I have this love-hate relationship with the real estate community. And, the reality is that that's not everybody, but I would say a lot of people, especially in the commercial side of the business, dude, they're fucking stabbing you in the front, not the back, right? They see you get more successful and, do better at life. They're like, they hate you. They don't like, they're not like, you said something really nice. You're like, dude, like, you've come a long way, like, whatever. That's how I am. I love like lifting people up. But I think in general, people are fucking haters.
And I think, we operate in real estate 24/7. So that's what we see. But I think that extends to the world.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Like every industry, not a lot of people have an abundance mindset. Yeah. Very few people are happy, genuinely happy for other people's success, or they're happy, they just don't want you to be more successful than them of deal.
That's why 80% are paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
That's the results of that.
And committing career suicide every Monday morning when they have to like
Yeah.
show up at their 9 to 5, right? Like that's the majority of the world.
But the cool thing is like when you just give to people and you're totally open, like, bro, there's so much freaking. I couldn't buy every house in Long Island if I wanted to. It's just not possible. But when I help people, it helps them. It makes me feel good. And ultimately it comes back to me in some way,
It'll come
shape,
back to
or
you.
form.
Yeah.
Like I do one of those food review videos. I help that business. But like then I walk down the street and like people are taking gas station selfies with me because they think I'm some kind of freaking famous person.
Yeah.
It's funny. But then I'm buying more houses.
Yeah.
And last year was the worst year in real estate in the last 30 years. So the market was down, volume was down, the worst it's been in 30 years. I did more deals last year than I have ever done before, and now we're doing more deals now than we've ever done before.
Wow.
So, and I'm sure that goes for like yourself and other like
Totally.
you top
Yeah.
producers. In a world where everyone's struggling, that small percentage of people that are doing the right thing are just growing through the tough
Best time
times.
to be alive right now.
Yeah, now it is. It's
It's
amazing.
amazing. I have a question for you. When you're
Sure.
looking at deals, you're doing all these deals. When you look at them, what's your, do you have a financial guy that analyzes numbers? Do you do that? Did you fire yourself from that? How do you look at
So
deals?
I always did that. I'm literally a week away from firing myself from that. So essentially, high level of what the machine looks like. We have tons of marketing, inbound, outbound. We have leads coming in. We have leads managers that are fielding those deals, right? So we have all these different verticals of outbound and inbound. They come in. We have leads managers that are fielding the emails, fielding the calls. Great. Their whole entire job is to ask a certain question, like 10 questions. Get this
Qualify.
information from me. Qualify the lead to a certain level and set the appointment. That's your entire job. All I want you to do is get them to answer these 4 questions, build rapport on the phone, be professional, set the appointment. At that point, it gets kicked over to the underwriting desk, or what I call the scrubber. The scrubber looks at that. That's the person that underwrites the deals. They look at it. They get really into the weeds of it. What's the zoning? Are they in foreclosure, et cetera? What's the deal? They put all that information in, they update the notes, and then they assign a field rep based on experience, scheduling, and geography. That field rep now owns the lead. All of a sudden, boop, in their calendar, it pops up. Yo, you got to go to Valley Stream on Tuesday. Here's all the information. You're prepped. Go. So they go out there and essentially they negotiate the deal. They build rapport. They ask the qualifying questions. They go in there and like relentlessly beat a number out of them that would make sense. The underwriter is literally on the phone with them, and in real time, we can see the house. So what I mean by that is we use this like 360 camera that in real time generates a walking tour of the house. So the underwriter who's sitting at the desk and can be anywhere feels like they're in the house because they have pictures of every single room that's 360 that moves around and you can walk through the house. So they can calculate and do all the research to try to close the deal literally while the field rep is in the field having a conversation.
Wow.
You've done that obviously at the
scale.
spot, right?
Yes, exactly. And then they come in and there's different disposition strategies. So based on our thing is this, we spend all this money on marketing. We're going to turn a deal into money one way, shape, or form. So what are the different disposition strategies? We can either wholesale it out to somebody. We can bring it in, clean it out, and relist it. We can do extensive renovation work to it. We can subdivide it. We can have a dormer on it, new construction. We can turn it into a rental. So, but now our business is very compartmentalized, meaning the way I have a marketing company, I have a renovation company, I have a property management company, I have a portfolio of properties, and each individual one has a separate P&L and a person that's responsible for that P&L, and they must live and die. Like that company lives and dies
So you have
on its
different
own.
verticals throughout your company.
Yes. So like the marketing company goes out there, generates the leads. We go out there, we get an accepted offer. Now, the disposition strategy for that particular property is based on what makes sense. So I'm not just doing that to get houses to flip, because if it doesn't make financial sense, given the risk, the velocity of money, and the time value of money, I might not buy that property. I might make less money as a whole and wholesale it. But when you factor in the time value of money and the risk and the velocity of money, it doesn't make sense for me to bring it in-house, right? So that's how we underwrite the deals at this point.
Beautiful.
So you're basically you're trying to benefit from the analysis on everything that you're doing in some way, shape, or form.
It's highest and best use best possible return given the risk, the time frame, and the velocity of money.
Do you have investors?
Sure.
And is there an opportunity for people like myself to invest?
So the way I've always structured is at the beginning, I would raise private money. Yeah. So I never went to like institutional lenders or hard money guys. I was trained to raise money.
Yeah.
So I went out and I raised money. And everybody was on a deal-by-deal basis, and it was straight debt. So you get 10% interest, guaranteed 6 months, paid monthly, and it rolls. And that's what I've been doing for a very long time. What ended up happening, now the volume is so heavy that moving money is so difficult and time-consuming that I had to open a fund.
Yeah.
Just mostly for like just the ease of use. I'll give you an example. When you're buying 4 houses 1 week and selling 4 houses in the same week, and you have investors at different amounts. So this guy put in 300 grand because it was a $350,000 deal. This guy put in 500, whatever it is. Now you have to try to match like, all right, this guy's getting out of the deal and he wants to roll his money. What deals do I have? I got to move it into that. How much more money do I have to raise?
Accounting nightmare.
Bro,
But do you have a CRM that can calculate all that?
I do. It's not that. It's I have to fit the investors in and then, you know, just get more money to fill the gaps. Because if this house is selling for 300 and I have 300,000 coming out, now this one I'm buying for 500. I got to put that guy in and then find out, all right, what other guy and what other deal that's closing gets into that.
The puzzle.
Yeah, it takes me like 2-3 hours.
And then he's got to get a K1 for every investment he's in. And right. I mean, just from a tax perspective, doing all that paperwork is insane.
My accountant, like I have a full-time CFO, I have an accountant that backs him up, and we just hired a virtual accounting firm to come in the back end to support all of them.
Yeah.
But I would spend, let's say, 2-3 hours a week trying to match money. I can't remove myself in the business doing that. So now we launched our first fund. So I spent.
When did that launch?
So it's literally launching right now.
So I can get involved.
You can get involved.
Is there a minimum?
There is no minimum.
Look at this.
Is it for residential?
So basically it's a debt fund. So instead of doing all of that, the money comes into the fund, you're getting a certain rate of return, and you're getting checks paid monthly. But now my CFO has the access, right? So the money's there. It goes right into the project, right out, right in, right out.
Right.
So I don't have to sit there and match money back and forth.
Yeah.
Another cool thing that we're about to launch second half of this year is NPL fund. So non-performing loans.
Okay.
So I started a couple of years ago, I started testing that. So I'm buying packages of non-performing mortgages. That is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, both on the commercial and the residential side, that is super cool. And then that'll be more of like an equity play. Whereas the flips is just a straight debt play. The NPL fund is an equity play where the investors are getting a preferred
Massive
return.
upside, too.
And then there's
great.
A waterfall structure. But if you do that right, man,
You're the perfect guy for that because you're the operator. There's no one who can operate. So when you see a debt deal and you're raising equity, you already know if there's equity there.
Well, there's a lot of, when you get into business, and you definitely see this on a daily basis, there's so many holes and opportunities in business because the market isn't fulfilled properly. Yeah. So you have these big funds. And the cool thing about guys like us is we started like in the street. So we have that experience. Then you go you get education, you work with mentors. So now you combine those two things, and it's a very lethal combination. When I was at NYU, there was a lot of very smart, like wealthy, multi-generational real estate developers' children that I went to school with. Yeah. Like Silverstein's grandson was in my class, like that kind of Chinese billionaires who were building cities and shit. So, but the thing is, they don't have the in the street experience.
No.
But when you mesh the two together like we have, you're
rare.
Like a Navy SEAL of real estate and business.
Smart in the book smart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is a lethal combo.
So in the NPL space, what I see is this. You have big funds that are buying giant packages. But the problem is like they don't do as well as they should because they don't understand the dynamic of moving the paper. Like they have these big law firms that like move at a glacial pace. They don't have people like, you know, going after these people to do cash for keys scenarios, workouts, you know, modifications, whatever it is. And the special servicer who's servicing the loans, they want it to sit there forever because they're getting a rip on it every single month.
Yep.
So everyone's interests are not aligned. But if you can come up with a system where you're subcontracting out to people that are really moving, or you bring it all in-house, which is probably what we're going to do, and you have a legal team that's really pushing, and you have an acquisitions team, which I already have, that's hitting these guys saying, hey, let's work it out, work it out. everybody's incentivized with commissions and everyone's aligned, you can really do very well in that space, because the package that I was buying them for like 10 cents on a dollar. 10 cents of what the after repair value would be. And I crushed it with those things.
That's interesting.
So it's just a lot of opportunity in a lot of different spaces right now.
So how do you benefit from, obviously everybody talking about the market with the rates, obviously where they are and all that stuff. How do you specifically benefit from how the real estate market, has declined over the last, 18 months or whatever it is?
So, I think there's opportunity in any market regardless,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, and listen, the truth is, when the market shifted, I got hurt the first half of last year, and it really exposed a lot of my business. And I'll give you an example. We've done very well over the last 7 years, but we've also gotten a little bit lucky. Lucky because we weren't running our construction effectively, because we were doing 45 to 65 houses at a time, and I didn't have enough people, and I didn't have the right systems. Projects were going over budget, things like that. But the market was outpacing whatever the overspend was. The projects were taking too long. What should have taken 3 months was taking 8 months, whatever. But when everything adjusted and the rates shot up and everything pulled back, and luckily we're in Long Island, so we don't really get that hammered compared to like the rest of the country, I was exposed. So I took losses on a bunch of stuff, and I realized, I have to reinvent my entire system. And I realized, I have these ancillary businesses like construction set up to fund something that a lot of times doesn't make sense. Like, it made more sense for me to have an acquisitions company and wholesale this and make a little bit less money or make the same money than just being one track minded. I have to flip it. I have to buy it. I have to gut it. I have to do all this shit. I'm making money for all these people. And at the end, at one point, I was down like $500,000 at the beginning of last year. We came back and skyrocketed and went right through it. But it was like a dicey 6 months of all right, we have to change the trajectory of everything.
Yeah.
A lot of tweaking, right? A lot of tweaking and just...
We restructured. It wasn't tweaking. We literally...
forced to restructure.
We stripped.
Yeah.
I sat down with one of my mentors, and he just stripped my COO, my CFO, and me, and he just stripped us naked business-wise.
Yeah.
And he's like, doesn't make sense. And then we built it all back in an afternoon, plan-wise. We went out and we executed. And now this thing is like a bulletproof machine that can really withstand any kind of, movement in the market. We don't have the same type of exposure, and we don't have the projects for so long. A lot of this stuff, we're just moving paper, or we're in and out. And if we're doing the deal and we're going to do the construction, the margins are so big that unless the world comes to an end, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we wrap up, first off, I think we should do this. We should have you on frequently.
Thanks, man. I would love to.
Right?
I would love that.
Let's keep it a recurring thing. And in the spirit of closing this out, first off, great to catch up with you. I'm so glad that this forced us to get back together, because we need to do things together, the three of us, for sure.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do that. And then, so where can people find you?
I'm on I'm haunting people's lives on every social media
News
platform.
12, News 12.
Literally, yeah. Fox News Now, Newsmax, everything.
Yeah.
But every social media platform, Handsome_Homebuyer. YouTube, it doesn't matter what it is, we're there.
Awesome. You're doing a great job, man.
Keep it likewise, man.
Really
It's great to
proud.
see you guys.
I'm motivated
Yeah,
from
likewise.
this. It's great.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's great to see you. I love
Great to
that.
see you,
I think
dude.
great things are happening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.